Welcome to Heartspeak Podcast, episode 92. Procrastination? Let me think about it. Well, welcome to this session. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're managing to have some reopening in the areas that you are, both in your life, in your community, in your family. I hope you're meeting up with friends and family and experiencing the joy of being human, of socializing, of enjoying the outdoors. All of these things so precious to us. And before I go further into today's procrastination, I won't procrastinate too long, I promise you. I want to let you know that now I have uploaded the meditations from many of my podcasts onto Insight Timer, onto the app there. And I'm thoroughly enjoying the fact that I'm meeting new audiences, and I also felt that it would give you an opportunity to go there just to experience the meditations. Many times one of you will ask me, well, where was that meditation? And I have to say, I can't always remember which session a particular meditation went into. So if you enjoyed a particular meditation, go there. At the moment, I've just uploaded the first ones. It's the practice of Insight Timer, but I hope that I will get all of them up there in time and build a community there as well as I have here on the podcast. I also just want to mention that I'm offering a webinar for women primarily to go from the worker bee to the queen bee. And I feel excited because this is one of my passions, to really help women to understand who they are, how they can use their natural gifts. So maybe you'll also join me there. But before I procrastinate any further, let's move forward. And this subject was very pertinent to me this week. As always, I don't plan what I'm going to talk about and speak about. And now that we're no longer working alongside the moon, I just allow the subjects that come to me to be important. And this was my problem this week. I don't know if any of you have been feeling that. I felt I was putting things off. I felt I was getting distracted. I was definitely more tired than I usually am. And I know that's possibly because Saturn is retrograde in Capricorn, as I've talked about. And I don't usually take naps, and yet I was really needing to lie down for a couple of hours, which is very unusual for me. And when I did, I would go into a very deep sleep. And I've been having dreams, but it felt like there was just so much energy swirling around. And I needed to quieten myself and go inside. But at the same time, I was also seeing that that might be part of my procrastination. I would like to do this, but maybe I need a nap instead. And it was so interesting that there are things that I'm looking forward to producing and creating and offering, and yet I was finding all the reasons not to do it. Does this make sense to any of you? Are you going through a similar idea? And I could say, yes, I need to be mindful of what's going on the news or on Facebook or etc. And I could get lost in reading or listening or thinking if I had more information, very throat chakra, that then I could do this thing. But I needed to really stop and ask myself, why am I doing this? Because I'm not a natural procrastinator. I tend to have an idea and put it into action right away. I moved into the United States by, I'm going to the States, pack up, leave, come here. Or I'm leaving a relationship. That's it, that moment, that's it, I'm finished. That's my way. Now, doesn't always mean that I couldn't have left a few months ago or done something a few months ago. There is a part of me that can procrastinate by saying, well, maybe if I could change everybody else, then I'll go and do this thing. Maybe you recognize that as well. It's everybody else's problem, not mine. But generally, when I make a decision to do something, I just do it. And I know it's right. And talking to a friend, I realized just how my life has been like that. I can't tell you that I've known why I'm on the planet or what I'm here to do. I do, as we've been talking about, know what I enjoy doing. That's really important. What are my core values, my core essence, my curiosity, my sharing, my connecting, my compassion? They're all my core essence. But I couldn't tell you how that's going to be expressed into the world. When I was in my 20s, 30s, 40s, I fortunately, and I say that, have always known that I need to do something, even though I may not know the steps beyond that. Does that make sense? I'm sure you've had that same experience. And as I've also spoken about, that becoming a doctor, which I'm really pleased I did, and it's opened many doors that wouldn't have been opened. And I love the learning. I love the meeting of individuals. I love helping people to heal, become whole. But as I spoke about, this was not the easiest thing for me, because my sensitivity to people suffering, which I experienced throughout my teenage years, which made me faint, it wasn't a natural fit to say, hey, let's go and look to where people suffer so I can faint more. So there are times where I've made a decision which wasn't the simplest decision to make. It wasn't perhaps the most logical one, but it was the most intuitive one, the one that my soul said, we need to deal with this, we need to do this. And I couldn't have told you why I wanted to become a doctor. Again, I remember in my interview, that was, why do you want to become a doctor? And you usually had to say, because I like people and I like to help people. And all of that's true, but I could never have imagined how going through that work, meeting some fabulous people, both as my colleagues and my patients, has made me who I am now. And that's the truth of it. And I'm sure you've seen the same, that when we do something that we just know is right, what Bashar may call following your passion or following your bliss or following your excitement, yes, you may know it's right, and they were qualities that I would talk about, but I couldn't have told you what I was going to get out of it or why. And it's often that why that causes us to stop. Why do I want to do this? What am I going to get out of it? But in the majority of times in my life, I've done it, and then that's why I'm doing this. That's why I don't see myself as a procrastinator. You could say I go where angels fear to tread, and then I think about it afterwards. But I have always trusted that inner guidance, that inner knowing. And when I talk about inner guidance, you don't hear me talking about my channeled, the angels I follow or the people who guide me. I trust myself. And that self that I trust is not external to me. It is the source of my beingness. Does that mean that I don't have guides and I don't? No, I have that energy, but it's that multidimensional layering that says, I couldn't tell you at what level I'm being guided. In fact, I don't care. As long as the guidance is pure to my heart, in the light, and brings me closer to my fullness, or connects me to who I am. And often I'll just say, I'm connected to the source. And that's where we all go, and it doesn't matter. And maybe just procrastinating a little bit, but maybe I just say this again, reinforce this, that even though people tell me, oh, my guide is this, I'm connected to that, remember, they're just archetypical energies. So if Archangel Michael is one of your guides, he may be wonderful for being a light bearer and showing you the way, but he might not know anything about relationship. And so what I would just say is, don't get hooked into a name, because it literally, what we're saying when we say, this is my guide, this is their name, we're literally locking ourselves into an identity that isn't even them. It's our perception of them. It's what we've been taught or what we learn about what that guide should mean to us. And that's perfect. But it would be better just for us to say, I'm guided by the light. I'm guided by love. You understand? It's an archetypical energy. And often what we'll do is we'll give it a name. And the same happens when I hear people talk about their guidance or their totem animals. oh, I always have that totem animal, I always have that. Don't do that, because it's the known is only coming from your head. Be surprised, be in the mystery, where you say, wow, that animal came to me in my meditation. I fancy that. And because that's what expands us, is when we get surprised, when we even meet something a little scary. Wow, I met this and I wasn't sure what to do with it. Well, you're not meant to know what to do with it. You're meant to have an engagement with whatever it is until we understand its purpose in our life. The same can happen with a dream. We have a dream, you might come back from the dream and you go, wow, I know I've been a long way away, but I can't remember the dream. That's because, again, our brain is trying to fit it into a hole rather than allowing it to infiltrate and expand us until we go, wow, where did that come from? And well, it was planted a few months ago, but it's only now that we're able to integrate it, see it, understand it. So I wanted to give you that broad line of there are different energy sources we can go to. But when it comes to following our truth, becoming whole, maybe that's my agenda, but I want to be all that I am this life. And I want to be all that I am, forget just this life. But in this life, I want to make sure that I incarnate, I bring everything of my soul quality into this world and I express it. That's important, not just thinking about it, I do it. Then that's the quality of coming directly from the source. And we're going to do a meditation with this right at the end. So connecting to the source is connecting to your heart, connecting to the knowingness. And that's why I started to say I'm not a procrastinator, because when I know something's right, it resonates with me and I do it. And I know it's right because I often then experience reflections back to me in a synchronous nature that says you did the right thing. So let me just give you an example that some of you, again, may have heard me speak about before. But my decision to leave general practice, that was in 1987, came about by an insight that I received when I was in Findhorn, the spiritual centre up in the north of Scotland. And I just happened to be in a workshop with Caroline Mace, who I just happened to have met, sat next to on the plane as we were going up to Findhorn. And I just happened to be asked by her, well, who are you? And immediately I heard myself say, I can't cope, I can't cope. I burst into tears. Now, that wasn't what Caroline had asked. She'd said, who are you? But what I expressed was, I can't cope because I'm not doing what's true to me. At that time, in 1987, I was a general practitioner. I loved my work. I had everything I wanted, and I was dead inside. And that deadness wasn't going to be fixed by me trying to fix everybody else, which is what I tried to do, reorganize the clinic, etc. And so when Caroline asked me, who are you? It was really, I was saying, I'm dead inside. I know what I'm doing is no longer serving me. It's no longer feeding me. It's no longer allowing me to grow. I need to die to what I thought I was in order to let something new to be born. And that's a dark night of the soul. And so I recognized in that time that I spent the next few days wandering amongst the pine forests. And the pine forest, the way in which the pine cone moves, is called the golden mean or golden spiral. If you've never looked at a pine cone, each ring spiral of seeds in the pine cone are 1.618 further on than the one before, or the row before, same as the sunflower. So spirals are very important to us when we are engaging with a level of transformation. And everywhere I've lived since then, I've had pine trees at the back of me or around me, whether in my own home or in my backyard, etc. And even here in New Mexico desert, my neighbor has pine cones, pine trees and pine cones. What would you have imagined there, you know? So during that time, I made new decisions because the pine cones were waking up my pineal gland, the gland which relates to the crown chakra, that then was waking up to saying, well, if you're not this, who are you? And I didn't know, my head didn't know, but my heart did, my mind knew. So I listened to this, and I went back down to where I was living in Essex, where my general practice was. And immediately I said, wow, you stupid idiot, you've been to this place where at that time they were growing very large vegetables and speaking to plants. And that wasn't totally new to me, but it was like this didn't fit into my orthodox medicine life. Again, I was brought up with all the esoteric, but I kind of lost myself a bit in the orthodox world there. So I said, wow, why are you going to give up your job when, you know, you've been to this place for a week and you're already changed? And immediately, and this is what happens to me, I got saw in front of my visual a past life where I had been given the choice to follow what they called the sun god, Akhenaten, the pharaoh, who believed in alchemy, believed in the one light. And I had returned back to Egypt to Cairo, or what was the city then, and said, no, I'm not ready. And so the immediate thing in this split second past life meditation I saw in my eyes, standing in my little garden, was, and I heard, so you haven't got the courage to do it again. So once again, you haven't got the courage. Well, you don't test me with that, because one thing I have got is courage. And immediately the following day, I went back to my general practice. They'd only thought I was going away on a holiday for a week. They didn't know what had happened. And I was very nervous because I was having to share the knowledge that I was going to leave my general practice with my partners, with my colleagues. And I told them, I'm sorry, but I'm going to leave. And they said, well, we always knew you would, Christine. How can we help you? And then I said, wow. And they said, please stay on for 4 months and we'll get a replacement. Please go and tell the receptionist. I told the receptionist, and she said, oh, my family want a car. Would you sell the car to us? I went, yes. And I walked into the realtor, the estate agent, and I said, I'm selling my house. And they said, well, my brother wants a house. He'll buy it. So by lunchtime, I had no job, no house, no car. That's when you know you're doing the right thing, because the doors open so quickly, synchronistically. That's synchronicity. It's alignment. It's when everything aligns. It's like seeing 11:11 on your clock, or 3:33, or 2:22. It's not what they mean. It means something to each of us about alignment. So when we see a synchronicity, we know we're doing the right thing. Make sense? So knowing when things are right is listening to your heart. Knowing when things are right is when it's reflected back to you synchronistically. So coming back to my procrastination, when I procrastinate, I'm being asked to go to another level of which I have some doubt, some anxiety. And I've been here before, not often, but I've been here before. And I look at both my emotions and my mental body, because they're the places of procrastination. It's not my physical body, it's not my spiritual body, it's what we might call my human body, where I have the emotions and I have the beliefs. And I look at them and say, well, okay, I'm fearful. Maybe I'm fearful of something. What am I fearful of? Because what I'm doing is making a lot of excuses. Let me just step one back. The throat chakra, the belief systems, the mental body come up with all the reasons why I shouldn't do what I'm thinking of doing. Oh, well, you're not going to make money from it. Oh, well, it's going to take up time. Oh, well, who would want what you have to say? Oh, well, you don't deserve it. Anybody else got that little long list? You know, the chatter, the monkey mind, whatever we want to call it, the mindset that has no limits to what it can tell you as to why you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. And then that's the excuses. And then we do the other thing the throat chakra does. It gives us the whole list of questions. Well, maybe if you had more qualifications, maybe you should listen to what someone else does. Maybe you need to, so you go out asking questions. You go on Google, you go onto something, and you find the answers, well, you think you do. And at the end of the day, you're maybe more confused or more disheartened because you kind of go, wow, all these people seem to know what they're doing and I don't. So maybe my mind is right. I'm no good. Everybody else is better. They're making money. I'm not, whatever. Does that make sense to you? I'm sure I'm not alone on this. And it all happens very subconsciously. It's like, yeah, this is right. And we say, oh, I'm frightened. And so commonly we use that one. It's like, oh, well, I'm frightened. Well, what are you frightened of? I don't know. So of course, I ask the question, so if you did know what you're frightened of, what are you frightened of? And sometimes it's real. Well, maybe I'm not going to make money, or maybe I need to stay in my job, or maybe nobody will love me, whatever. But a lot of the times it's a red herring, or it's like a little thing we throw out just hoping everybody will leave us alone. You know, we've said it to ourselves so often, we believe it, and now everybody else believes us as well because we've said it so often. Oh yeah, that always happens to her. But these beliefs are limiting us. They are based on false memory often. Memories that it's almost as if we've given ourselves permission to create this story in order to keep ourselves stuck. And at this time, Saturn in Capricorn, Pluto in Capricorn, we're breaking down these stories. And what we're really doing is breaking down the rules, breaking down the beliefs, the things that have given us security, because that's what our beliefs do. They say, well, this is who you are. And we go, phew, now I know who I am. I'm, stupid. I'm this, I'm that. But they actually also limit us. So what we're saying to ourselves now, and this is why this is so important at this time, is what doesn't actually create an expansive field for me? What doesn't create a foundation of expansion in me, but rather than puts me back in jail or prison? So what in me is being suppressed? And so many things are happening where we are being asked to take responsibility, be accountable. I've spoken about that. But it's more about not, heavy responsibility. It's more like, hang on, this is my plan I'm putting into action. This is my life. I'm going to be accountable for my life. In some ways, it's empowering us. So as I went through the list of things that I truly kept telling myself, well, it's maybe that, maybe this and maybe that, I could almost feel myself giving myself excuses for not doing things. And I saw that none of it really was true, because I was giving too much out to the outer world as to how I experience my inner world. And I'm sure I'm not alone in this. Many a time when we procrastinate, we're creating a scenario in the outer world to our expression from our inner world. Again, people won't like it. They won't, she won't, he won't. And it's not necessarily a truth. It's literally that we are creating in our outer world, remember it's just a hologram, reasons for not acting. Now, I've seen this so many times. Funny enough, one of the times was in Findhorn. So Findhorn was developed or came to life, I'm going to say somewhere back in the 70s. And it was set up by these wonderful pioneering women, men, who saw the potential of working with the earth, working to create wonderful gardens with the diva kingdoms, and to inspire others, as it certainly inspired me to find who I was. And it's a fantastic place. And it was some of the first places where complementary medicine went in, environmental issues got sorted, how we live with the earth, fantastic. But in no disrespect to Findhorn, when I went back probably about 20 years ago, it had become more established. It was less living in caravans and living on the earth specifically. And it had created sort of a boundary in itself, that here's Findhorn, or the community of Findhorn, and there's the village of Forres, or the villages around us. And when I was speaking to the doctors about complementary medicine and the other healers there, they would say, well, you know, we're doing these very unusual things and nobody outside here will accept us. Well, I'd been working for almost 10 years in a very holistic practice down in London, in the center of London, and had no trouble offering my tools. And I'd been teaching in hospitals, teaching in different places. And frankly, I'd been doing that even in my general practice, offering these esoteric teachings, complementary teachings. And so what I saw had happened was, if you isolate yourself too much, you create a scenario, a belief that the outside world doesn't necessarily accept what you're doing. And that's what had happened. And the truth was, those boundaries were not real. They were in the community's mindset, because this had been built up to say, we're different from everybody else and therefore we have to stay different. And that can happen where a group of individuals who initially had a fantastic idea, as because we're unique and nobody understands us, come together, but instead of spreading the word, sharing what they have to offer, we become limited. And we then create a us and them scenario. So I've seen that other times where, again, having come from a huge practice, not my practice, but a huge center, I should say, of holistic care in London, where I hear people say, oh, people won't accept my form of healing, and it's like, no, actually, that's not true. We've been doing this for 40 years now. Actually, what's happening is we've created a hologram around ourselves that gives back to us what we believe. Does that make sense? That's what I'm wanting to share there, is be careful what you create. We are magicians, we are creators. But when we say in our procrastination, well, I can't do it because, it's exactly what we create. And then we have to say, well, why am I so scared? Why am I creating that reality? Because it's not the opinion of other people. It's not the approval or the criticism of other people. It's something we're doing, which is saying, maybe I don't want to be down here on this earth, so I'm keeping all my gifts to myself. It's not the truth that other people won't accept it. Maybe, and as we know, the saying is, maybe we're scared of being big. And it's not big as in, again, comparing ourselves to other people, but just maybe we're scared of just being full of ourselves. Maybe we're scared of just enjoying life. Maybe we're scared of, wow, if I become so large, I may not fit into life. That may be true, but try it out for size. Do it and then see what happens. You can always pull back. So I recognize my procrastination, just to complete, was more about chatter in my head that wasn't real. And I'd come away from just what I enjoy doing. I enjoy sharing, as you can see and hear. I enjoy interacting with people. I love learning. I love communities. I love doing that. And when I'm not doing that, I'm not happy. I'm lost. So what I'm saying is, I'm just sharing because I love sharing. I don't really care on a big level whether you listen or not, whether or not you approve of what I say. I love if someone writes to me and says, hey, can you explain that? Oh, I want that interaction. And truly, that beauty of seeing something you bring to life. And those of you who have had children, you've had that experience. I've had it with 9 books. But also when someone says to me, my goodness, you were talking to me. That's so magical, because it's not just having the idea and it's not just expressing it. It's having an interaction. Doesn't have to even be like, yeah, wow, that was wonderful. But to see that fertilization happening, to see that how everything moves. And I want that to be there for you. So when I'm in a procrastination stage, it's almost as if I've become stagnant. It's almost as if I've forgotten that the purpose of our world is not to just even have an idea and express it, but to engage with the world and to, in that engagement, to expand ourselves. Does that make sense? I hope it does. And again, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to finish with a meditation today. And a lot of different ideas came to me yesterday, which often happens. But this was what I woke up with this morning, and I want to share it with you. So please, if you're in a safe place to do this meditation with me, close your eyes. Placing your feet on the ground, hopefully. And we're going to experience ourselves as a source, a pinpoint of energy. And we're going to do it through our heart. So take a few deep breaths, just coming into your body. And then to take your awareness to your heart chakra, center of your chest. And just imagine your heart chakra as a point of light. And yes, that light is radiating out. But it's also meeting another point of light. And if I may change that point of light to an eye. So out of your eye comes this bright light. And looking back at you is another eye, also shining back to you. Now you can call it the eye of God, the eye of the Great Mother. I'm going to call it the eye of the dolphin. It might be the eye of a favorite dog or a hummingbird. It might be the eye of someone who loves you dearly. As your two eyes meet, you see the soul through the eyes. You are seen and known by this other eye, and you see and know them. I am that I am. It's pure light exchange, pure energy exchange. No conditions, no expectations. I am that I am. Now I'm going to take you through a process where we hold on to that light. But it's a process of birthing here on earth. So as you are your beautiful soul, we could say floating around in the universe, this eternal soul, seen and known in the way by this eye, the eye of God, the eye of knowing, you make this journey here onto earth through the womb of your mother. And as you grow in this physical body within the mother's womb, you realize that the eye becomes less clear. It's as if there's a covering that occurs. So where you knew who you were and why you were here, at the time you are born, and some of you are born with greater ease than others, you come here onto this earth, and commonly we can't remember why we can. We can't remember who we are. We're connected to this mother initially through the umbilical cord. But everything else seems limited. And if I may change your imagery to now being a tiny bud, a bud of a beautiful flower, but you are just a bud. And that center of who you are, the eye of who you are, is now covered by petals that are yet to unfold. You feel somewhat lost. It's not so clear for you to know, but you know that that eternal self, that eye is still inside you, that light still exists, but it's less easy to contact maybe. But there's something in you as that tiny bud that knows that your purpose, my purpose, is to unfurl those beautiful petals until we can reveal that center, that eye at the center of our flower again. That's our purpose, it's our yearning. So the first thing that we would do when we're looking at the bud is to look to see what the bud's connected to. Initially, it's connected to a mother. But her purpose, whether she did this or not, is to root you into Mother Earth. So follow the stem down of your bud, your flower, your plant, and see your roots going into Mother Earth. And if you need to, then develop more roots, deeper roots. This is where you will receive your nurturing. This is where you will receive the energy of creation that allows you to become all that you are. And feel the earth around, Mother Earth's soil surrounding your roots. Moist, nurturing, supportive. At this moment you need even more roots. Put more roots in, doesn't matter. This is where we start. We start by rooting ourselves. Because this is also the knowledge of eternal life within Mother Earth. This is where it runs through. And please draw some of that energy up along your stem. Let's come back to your beautiful bud, whatever color you've given it. And see the outer covering of the bud as what we call the etheric body, the electromagnetic field, the electromagnetic force that flows underneath our physical body, literally the blueprint of the physicality. I often say it's like the coat you might put on when it's raining. It's the covering. It doesn't include emotions, it doesn't include beliefs, it's just energy. And you see that the more you root into the earth, the more energy that outer covering has for your bud. And it feels good. Now your bud recognizes that the sun is above. The sun, the seed of consciousness. It's as if the sun's rays brings an idea. And that idea resonates with the very core of who you are. That eye in the center. It's like it wakes up the bud. That's what the purpose of the sun is. The sun's light is to wake us up, remind us, oh yeah, I'm not just a bud. And with that remembering, the bud says, oh, time to open. Start to open. And as your etheric body starts to open, reveal what's beneath, you first of all come across what we call the astral body, the emotional body. This is the source of the energy that is going to bring about transformation. All these emotions, they're all invaluable to transformation, whether it's our anger, our fear, our tears. But what you recognize as your bud opens, some of your little petals of your astral body are a little overwhelmed, too full of anger, too full of fear, too full of tears. And what I suggest is you shake yourself off, shake your little bud, clear some of the excess energy. And others of them, you'll see, wow, I need a little bit more emotion. Let Mother Earth provide that beautiful earth, air, fire, water to your astral body, your emotional body. We need emotions to bring about change. Just check in. What do I need more of? What do I need less of? It's not all about being happy. Maybe you got too much happy and not enough sad. It's a cycle. We need it all. And as we feel comfortable with the astral body of our petals, the sun shines again, and it shines onto our mental body inside this. And our mental body should never have been the organizing factor. It was the relationship between the sun and the roots and our heart that are the organizing factor. They are the creative source. But somehow our beliefs have become the organizer. They think they're boss. So look at this layer of your petals that are your beliefs, your thinking. Some of them may be stubbornly refusing to open. Some of them, maybe you've lost control over them. What I suggest you do is you connect them to the Father Sky, the Father Sun, the Mother Earth, and you remind them that they are not the controlling factor. They are the thinking. Our thinking is a way in which we organize and activate our expression, but they are not the source. So ask them to work with you, not against you. Remembering that Father, Sun, Mother Earth are actually the source of creation. So as the mental body comes back into alignment with the flow of energy, the sun, as the seed, is digging deep into our roots, through our roots, down into the serpent dragon grid. And it's saying, draw into yourself now those things that are pure and exacting to your soul's path. So as the mental body, the emotional body, the etheric body open up, you see the soul in the center of your being, the eye that knows the eye. And you're drawing the energy of perfection up through your body, through the roots, and meeting it with the sun coming down, the seed and the egg meeting together, the fertilization in your heart, where you go, now I know. Now I know who I am. And as you do that, literally your flower becomes even more beautiful. it blossoms even more as you connect not only with your soul's journey, with a deeper level, a deeper body, not just the soul body, but the spirit body, the universal body, the cosmic body, whatever words we want. All of a sudden, there is not just you. You're part of a multi-dimensional field of flowers, field of plants that exist on many levels. And you are so proud and happy to shine out, to blossom, to be seen, because it's not about your journey. It's about the deepest connection and the deepest happiness we could ever have. The joy of connection, the joy of being in this flow. And you can see you have a happy mental body, you have a happy emotional body, you have a happy etheric body, you have a happy physical body. Because they're all flowing together. No procrastination, no overwhelm, no underwhelm. Just being full of yourself. Being seen, the I am that I am. I am. And with that, gently to draw your energy, you can stay in this as long as you like, but I'm just coming to a close. So just making sure we're bringing your flower back to whatever energy you need to be able to get back into the world. So you can kind of close your petals just to bring them into alignment to the world around you. But being mindful is the world around you is an expression of you. The more open you are, the more open the world will be to you. Making sure your feet are on the ground, taking some deeper breaths, and opening your eyes when you're ready. Until next time, many blessings.
Thanks for listening to the HeartSpeak podcast with Dr. Christine Page. Please check out all HeartSpeak episodes in the podcast archive section on www.christinepage.com. HeartSpeak is also available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Sticher Radio, and now playing on iHeart Radio. You can also watch the archive podcasts on YouTube. Connect with Christine on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, including her newest Facebook group, The Great Mother Calling. Do share with family, friends, colleagues. Join us next time for another edition of HeartSpeak.